Just a quick, hey, you're cute. Here's my number. And then leaves. If you don't think she is pretty, is it weird? Story 1. Dear women reading these comments, and the one who asked the question, since I know this is for research purposes. This is what is known as initiative, and we men really appreciate that, like a hot shower after a great workout. If you show initiative for a man, he will fight fiercely for you, metaphorically speaking, of course. If at first you don't succeed, try again, because men can be slow to understand. But I promise, if you want that man to love you deeply, take the initiative. Story 2. If I were single, hell yeah. You better call her, you sexy beast. Not single, hell yeah. I knew I was a sexy beast. Married, hell yeah. I can't wait to tell my wife how much of a sexy beast I am. Story 3. It happened to me at work years ago. I was flattered. It gave me a huge ego boost. Then I had to tell her I was married. Story 4. Scam. No woman would ever do that, much less to me. Any woman who does that, my first thought is it is a scam or setup. Story 5. Working as a barista, I watched a girl do this to one of our regular customers. She wrote her phone number on his coffee sleeve. The look of pure joy on his face was priceless. He literally did a little dance after leaving. Story 6. I worked at an amusement park when I was in college. A girl around my age who worked in a different part of the park slipped me her number one day. Called her. We went to the movies watching M. Night Shyamalan signs, if I recall correctly. I didn't really feel a spark, and she showed a few minor red flags, so I thanked her for a nice night and drove home. A few days later at work, she slipped me another note, this time inviting me to come to her place with a clear hookup proposition. I avoided her for a few days and then made an excuse. I was only about 20 but had learned my lesson. You don't get involved with women unless you have some feelings for them. Story 7. Whether or not I find her attractive, which is 99% unlikely, does not matter. I would be flattered and would definitely text her to at least say hi. If I am not attracted to her in that moment, which is almost absolutely not the case, I will be after we become friends and I get to know her. Story 8. My sister tried this at Target last month. The man was so flustered he entered his phone number incorrectly. She found him on social media later, and they are going on their third date this weekend. It turns out he was too shy to approach women himself. Story 9. Don't care how pretty she is. She made the first move. That automatically qualifies her for best mate possible. If she can call you to her, she can call you out, and that is the best kind of mate. Story 10. That may be nice, but I would look around for cameras to see if I am being pranked. That does not happen to me. Story 11. That would be very suspicious. I would be happy about it if it were real. That would make my whole day. But in reality, that is such an unrealistic thing to happen to any man, especially me with my dad bod on a 5'7" frame. I would probably be creeped out and look for a camera or something. Story 12. Probably think it is a scam. I feel like if you texted a person like that, they would ask you to come to a seminar about becoming a self-made millionaire in 3 easy steps. Story 13. I mean, that is obviously a scam. Or they are going to drug me and take my kidneys. I am no Adonis. I doubt this actually happens even to tens. Story 14. I would go home and brag to my girlfriend that I am very attractive and tell her she is so lucky to have a handsome man like me. Lovingly, of course. She would then show me the shoebox of numbers from guys she has collected from working as a waitress, haha. But no, it would honestly make my week. I like knowing that I am attractive enough for someone to come up to me like that. It has never happened before. Story 15. I've had this happen. I was sitting by myself at a bar in a restaurant, which I do about once a month on a Friday because there were 2 bartenders who work there and are pretty cool. A girl came up, said she saw me sitting alone, handed me a note with her number, and then left. I was so confused about whether it was a compliment or a pity thing. I got a little annoyed because I was overthinking this when I just wanted to enjoy my dinner in peace. She could have said, hello, how's it going? How's your food? You're cute. I like your jacket. Or do you want company sometime? Just start a conversation so I could see what she was like. It didn't have to be long or in-depth. Anyway, it felt weird. I texted her. She was weird, and there wasn't a date. Story 16. I honestly have never been cold approached. It would knock me off my head. I would remember the girl no matter what. Story 17. Doubtful. If it did happen, I would think they lost a bet or it was some sort of prank. A girl came over and sat with me at lunch during college and we talked a bit. I had never met her before. She left, and a few days later I saw her alone working on some stuff and tried to talk to her again. But she showed little to no interest, so I left her alone. We never talked again. I have no idea why she sat with me at lunch. Stuff like that doesn't really happen to me, and I have been burned plenty of times by people who actually liked chatting with me in the past, so my trust is very low towards anyone. A girl messaged me first out of the blue a while back, which rarely happens unless it is a fake or bot profile like many on other sites. It raised red flags when some of the spelling wasn't right, but after a while I decided why not, I don't want to regret it, and replied. We talked a bit, added each other somewhere else, and talked regularly for about a month or two. Then they said they didn't want to be friends anymore and left. It sucks, but who knows if they were who they said they were. There are too many fakes these days, and technology has made it almost impossible to tell unless you actually meet in person, which is incredibly rare or might never happen in some cases. Story 18 happened once to me. It was probably a dare, but I did not care. We went out 3 times. It did not work out, but it was fun. Story 19. I have experienced this. I felt flattered and surprised. I did not know how to respond because it was so unexpected. I simply said, "Thank you." Story 20. I actually met my husband this way. I saw him reading my favorite book at a coffee shop, wrote my number on a napkin, and slid it to him before leaving. He called that evening, saying it was the most flattering thing that had ever happened to him. Story 21. If I am attracted to her, I would probably follow up if I am not seeing someone. If I am not, I would politely accept the compliment and not follow up. Story 22. An unknown woman gives me her phone number out of the blue. Immediate suspicion arises, and I feel it strongly. Story 23. Confused. She expected a trick or a joke and glanced at her laughing friends. Story 24. I would try the number, but my initial suspicion is that it is a scam and I am being set up to be attacked. Story 25. I had this happen to me once and it was very flattering. We ended up going on a few dates. In the end, we wanted different things. I definitely had a good time hanging out, and we still check in every once in a while. Story 26. If that had happened to me when I was young, I would have been suspicious. We would agree to meet somewhere, and her friends might slip me a drug and harvest my organs. Realistically, I knew I was not the type to make women swoon, so there was no way I would trust it. However, if we engaged in conversation and then she gave me her number, it would likely feel completely different. Story 27. I would expect ulterior motives. However, it takes a lot of courage, so I would likely text back to respond and get to know her. I would be honest that I am not big on relationships but would not mind chatting for now. It would only be weird to me if she is actively rude to me or someone else first. Story 28. As nice as it would be, my first thought is that there is an ulterior motive since women are not generally forward. Story 29. The first thing that comes to mind is whether I am still on planet Earth or if I am dreaming. It is a humorous thought. Does this ever happen? Story 30. I would probably call her. Nothing seems strange at all. She might just be shy. I wish more women did things like that. Story 31. The act itself is what is attractive. Most men spend their lives wishing a woman would approach them first. Even if he is not interested, he will respect you greatly for trying. That confidence is much sexier than any specific appearance. Story 32. Whether I thought she was pretty or not, I would be flattered because it takes a lot of courage to do that. If I were attracted to her, then I would text or call a day or two afterward and get to know her better. This is all hypothetical because it has never happened to me. Story 33. I would be surprised because it has never happened, but I would be flattered even if I did not find her attractive. I could never be that confident myself. Story 34. Respect to her. I have gained interest in women I otherwise did not like much, just because they approached me first. Story 35. If she is attractive and I am single, I will text the number to see how it goes. If she is not attractive or I am in a relationship, I will just smile, say thanks, and throw the number away when she is gone. Story 36. Been there, done that, well, not that. She took me with her. It's pretty much the only way to get me to do something. Otherwise, I'm just doing my thing. I notice people and make a note of some in the back of my mind, but I don't think any of them would be thrilled if I bothered them in any way, shape, or form. Story 37. This happened to me at work after my divorce, before dating my current wife. I work in a supermarket and had an apron on. I saw her look at me while shopping, and she seemed to be coming down my aisle with her friends. She got in line, then came back to me and put her number in my apron without a conversation. I contacted her and we hooked up. Then she told me her kid's father works at the store in another department, but they had recently broken up and he moved out. I cut her off to avoid getting caught up in drama. The kid's father and I spoke but were not friends. I felt awkward about the situation. I didn't say anything about it, and apparently she didn't either, but I felt better when he got another job. Story 38. I would think I won the lottery, to be honest, or that maybe she was just playing with me and I was being filmed. I am a suspicious person. Story 39. Had it happen once years ago. I was out walking my dog, and she and her friends were driving by. I said thanks. When I got home, I tossed the number because I was not attracted to her. Not weird. She took a shot. That takes guts. Story 40. Tell them I want to see if they are really serious about it. Story 41. It would mean the world to him. Men are very attention-starved. He would brag about it for years to come, if not for the rest of his life. Story 42. If I find her attractive, respond to secure a date. If I do not find her attractive, still respond positively because it takes a lot for some to make the first move. Story 43. You have to flirt a little. Nothing overtly sexual. Just a quick hello and introduction. Compliment me. Ask if I am single. Give me your phone number. Say text me and wink. Story 44. I really don't understand why this question keeps coming up. Why wouldn't it be okay? There are no rules being broken if a woman initiates. It is better than wanting something to happen and never doing anything about it, just hoping the man asking you out magically appears at your doorstep. Story 45. I do not think it is weird either way she looks. Also, I would be very happy if it happened, even if I was not interested in her. If that was the case, what are the rules on declining? I am assuming send no text because who knows? She could be upset and start texting you all the time. Story 46. This happened to me in high school. I worked at a movie theater and took tickets. One night, a girl said, "You're cute. Here's my number." We went on a date or two, but we did not have much chemistry, so it faded out like young dating often does. I still think it was a really cool thing. I did not even think about recording the moment since this was before smartphones existed. Story 47. If I don't think she is pretty, I don't know. It depends. I might text her back to try to get to know her. I have been attracted to women whose personality helped cover up some of the lower physical attraction. If I think she is pretty, I don't know. I might think she gave the number to the wrong person. Story 48. This happened to me last week. I was sitting in a restaurant eating by myself. A woman and her adult son were sitting at a table 6 feet from me. I had my earphones in and was watching a video while eating. They were leaving, and the waitress was talking to the woman. Then she walked over to me and said, "That woman sends you a kiss." I laughed nervously. The waitress then put a note on my table with the woman's name and number. The woman and her son got up and left. I texted my girlfriend because this was the second time since we started dating that something like this happened to me. I did not find the woman attractive, and even if I did, I am in a committed relationship. I left the note on the table and walked away. Story 49. I would take it as a compliment, but I would politely tell her that I have a girlfriend already. Still, I would encourage her to keep approaching guys because it will increase her chances of finding a successful relationship. Story 50. If she is not pretty, it would still be flattering. However, the internal voice in my head would be, not yay. If you want to do it, you should try. Men learn that they have to overcome the fear of rejection or making someone uncomfortable. Story 51. I would appreciate it, and if I found her at least somewhat attractive, I would message her to see what happens. When I was younger, 20 years old, working in a department store, a girl put a note with her number in my coat pocket while it was in the coat room. I appreciated it then, but I was not really attracted to her. The confusing part was that she already had a child with another man who worked there, and I thought they were together, but apparently not. I am pretty sure the man still wanted to be with her. So I guess what I am saying is, do not already be involved with someone else and bring your drama along with you. Story 52. Well, honestly, as a single man, I would take her number and message her first, tell her who I am, and maybe call her afterwards so she is mine. See if there is any spark. Now, if you are already in a relationship, the best thing to do is be honest and tell her you are flattered, but no thank you, as you are already in a committed relationship. Also, be careful, as it could be your partner testing you. Story 53. Something bad is going to happen, but I am taking that number and finding out anyway. It is either on camera, a prank between friends, or a scam. Story 54. I'll say something like, thank you for the compliment, but I can't accept it, as I'm in a relationship with the love of my life. I'm sure there are other men who would take your number and follow up with you. I appreciate the courage of taking the first step. Have a lovely day. Story 55. Confused and almost ready to throw it out. I don't know them, and I don't know why she gave it to me. It might not even be her number. Story 56. My ego would go crazy for a bit, probably smiling an awful lot the rest of the night. I am happily married, though, so I would never act on it. I have been cheated on and would never put someone through that. Story 57. Not going to lie, I might text the number later and see what happens. However, I would need some liquid courage before I do such a thing. Story 58. 20 years ago, I would have been thrilled and called straight away. Now I am married, and I do not need that noise in my life. I would politely decline no matter how attractive she was. Story 59. Pretty similar to when I received similar messages in social media, direct messages from a random woman. I would text her from a friend's phone, and if it is genuine, we live happily ever after. If it is a stalker, my friend will need to address that. Story 60. It happened to me. When I texted them, they asked, "Who is this?" I replied, "Do you give your number out to a lot of guys at your work?" They said, "No, I just didn't know who it was." Story 61. I would think it was one of those numbers that charges you money when you call it. Or it would identify my phone number calling back as a live number, and I would get hit with all sorts of scam calls. Story 62. I would think she is with Jesus or the Deaf Society, and I would firmly say I do not wish to speak about whatever it is she is selling. Story 63. If a woman actively initiates contact, I would definitely spare some of my time to thank her at the very least. The problem is I am in a closed relationship at the moment. Story 64. Nothing helps me get past the first introduction like a person doing it for me. In all honesty, I would follow up on it. Story 65. Universal for men and women, I guess. Is she pretty? I will smile about it and probably not believe it. Is she ugly? I will throw away that paper after she is out of sight. Story 66. If I were attracted to her, I would appreciate it and text her the next day. If I were not attracted to her, I would just appreciate it. Story 67. It's not weird, but if I am not attracted to her, no amount of confidence is going to change that. That being said, this is a great way to try. It is inoffensive, no pressure, and less awkward than just talking to someone who might not want to be bothered. The more attempts you make, the more success you achieve. Story 68. If that happened, it would be a first. However, I would still be suspicious and discard it. My initial thought is that it is part of a scam or trap. Story 69. What are all these chronically online replies? I would probably ask her not to run away and talk for a bit. If we connected, I would text her. Story 70. I would feel flattered, say thank you, and then when she had left, I would put it in the bin. I have been married for nearly 20 years. Story 71. I would say, "Cool. Who do you want me to give this to for you? Because there is no way she meant to give it to me. Story 72. I would not think it was weird at all. It had just never happened to me before, so I would think maybe she had mistaken me for someone famous. Story 73. I will answer for my younger self who went through this about 30 years ago. It is great that you include the number. I was on the dance floor at a goth club when a woman approached and said she thought I looked cute. I was confused, looked up, and she left within 2 to 3 seconds. I never saw her again. If she had given me something with her name and number, I could have connected after gathering my thoughts. Expect people to be confused, since this is likely a new experience for them, and give them a moment to collect their thoughts. Story 74. Once I had something similar happen to me. I was on my way to work, night shift stalking, waiting to cross the street, when a car full of women pulled up. They rolled down the window and beckoned me over. They introduced themselves as Becca and said to give them a call in 30 minutes, then pulled off. I called, and Becca had no idea who I was, as I expected. It was her birthday, and her friends were playing a joke on her. She probably had a rough night or new friends. All that aside, now that I'm spoken for, I'd lead with that. If I were single and attracted to her, I'd consider texting or calling her. I guess the worst that can happen is she'll steal my identity. Story 75. It depends on whether she looks shy or not. If she does not, I would assume she is just looking for a casual relationship and would not text her. If she appears shy, I would text her to see if that is how she prefers to communicate. Story 76. I am willing to find out. Ladies, I will be at Joe's tomorrow morning. Linger over chocolate if that appeals. Story 77. My baseline for attention from women is 0, so I would definitely be a bit taken aback by it, to say the least. Story 78. Even if I were not interested in her, I would not glare at her as if she had 3 heads. However, perhaps if I were hit on every time I left the house, I would feel differently. Story 79. I am going to start doing this just to confuse you all. Also, maybe I will find mine. Who knows? Life is crazy. Story 80. Working as a server, I have had a few women leave me their numbers on the receipt. I am really bummed about not reaching out to one of them because I liked her a lot and I liked her dog, but I was still going through a breakup with my ex and still sort of talking to her, so the timing was just not right. If that girl left me her number now, I would immediately text her. The hardest one was when I did text a girl back, but she actually left her friend's number, who I was not as attracted to. It was a bit awkward when I found out that I was not talking to the girl I was hoping for. Story 81. I once had a girl do this, but she was way too young. I'm talking I would go to jail for even considering it. She couldn't have been older than 15. I politely declined and was about to explain why when a man across the road started loudly laughing at her for being rejected and then questioned if I was gay. I didn't bother responding, but all I could think was that him assuming I might be gay because I wouldn't date a child said more about him than about me. That man should be on a watch list. The girl was mortified when the man made fun of her, turned bright red, and walked off. I hope that didn't affect her confidence too much because it takes a lot of courage to approach someone in public like that. Story 82. She either wants my kidneys, wants to have sex with me and give me AIDS, or she wants a baby right now. Story 83. I will be honest, I am pretty distrustful of women. While it sounds nice on paper, I would find the experience incredibly uncomfortable. Please do not bother me. Story 84. Try it out with a burner phone first. If it is legitimate, give it a go if you are so inclined. If it is not, sell it to a telemarketing agency. Story 85. It doesn't matter her appearance. It is the forwardness of it. I would assume she wants me to subscribe to her OnlyFans. Story 86. Do it. Men are not rude like you all when we are not interested. I suggest not immediately walking away because he might think it is a prank. Story 87. I would think she was a crazy person and would throw it away. No one ever approaches me, especially women. Story 88. No, do not think that is strange or new. It is a fire and forget tactic, and it is up to the other person to respond. It is easier than involving someone in long conversations. Story 89. It happens every once in a while. I am married, so I just ignore the number, but I appreciate the gesture nonetheless. Story 90. I would completely believe it is a scam. Not kidnapping or murdering or anything, but a way to get my money. Story 91. This refers to the maturity level when people would approach and say their friends liked you in high school. Story 92. That happened to me once. She came up and just said her phone number, then walked off. This was before smartphones. I did not have anything to write with, so I ran around to find a pen and paper. By the time I did, I could not remember the number. Story 93. I am not a man, but that is how my sister met her husband. She already knew him from work, and one day she gave him a piece of paper with her phone number on it and said, "You should call me sometime." Obviously, he did. Story 94. Working? Well, women do not like to be flirted with or asked out when they are doing their job. I would feel the same way. Story 95. Assuming she is not underage, I would probably text her. I have had preteens leave their number on my lifeguard stand. That was a hard no. If she is not attractive and I am way out of her league, it is weird, but you can hit on people within 2 points of you on the 10-point scale, and it is fine. Story 96. Men may think it is great, but the girl doing that is unlikely to succeed and get a good date out of it. Story 97. I would feel like she is interested in buying a horse. If she said, "I heard you talking, and I would love to have coffee with you," or "I saw you help that person, and I would like to buy you a drink sometime," I would like that. Story 98. I would assume that she is probably just wanting to connect, and I do not do casual encounters, so I would not text her. If she actually talked to Story 99. Somehow, giving numbers feels too heavy for me. Just give me your Instagram or something. Then let's talk through that first. Story 100. Politely say thanks, then throw it away at the first trash can. Why? Just like most women, I am not a fan of approaching or being approached when I am out doing errands or busy. Unless I am at an actual social event, I am not interested regardless of how she looks. Story 101. I would be flattered initially but would not care after a moment. If you are doing this to me, you have done this to countless others. Within that realization comes the understanding that this was not a special or unique encounter. You would not be contacted unless I felt particularly careless and interested. Otherwise, I would just discard it since we do not even know each other. Story 102. I can only imagine how unattractive these men must think they are to believe no woman would ever give them her phone number. The truth is they probably never even go out in public. And if they do, their vibe is clearly unpleasant. Story 103. I don't care if she is pretty or not. It is weird. At least try to have a conversation with me. Otherwise, I will tear up the piece of paper containing her number and throw it in the trash. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.